On this episode of Industry Relations, Rob and I give a recap of the Blueprint conference in Vegas this last week. Join us.
This is Industry Relations, a podcast that's at the intersection of real estate and technology from an insider's perspective, with Rob Hahn and Greg Robertson.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special edition, well, every edition special of Industry Relations. This is your host, Notorious Rob Hahn, and as always with me, my co-host, the fabulous Greg Robertson. Woo!
Ooh, hello, Rob.
Yeah. Did you get a haircut? I mean, I just saw you for like a week.
I kind of, I had some hair product problems in Vegas, so, I'm fresh out of the shower, actually.
All right.
So I went for a brisk walk this morning. So, yeah.
Fantastic as always. The fabulous Greg Robertson is fabulous head of hair. And I'm wearing a hat because I don't today. So, like I mentioned, it was really great to see you. You know, it's one of the advantages of living in Vegas, of course, that conferences happen here. So I could see friends, you know, from around the country, around the world, come to town. And we were just at a conference that it was your first time. It was my third, but yeah. So let's talk about Blueprint.
Yeah, it was Blueprint. So I'd heard good things about this. I'd went to their website, and honestly, I wasn't even thinking about whether or not I was going to go or not. Other than, like, you know, it's always a good time for us lately, especially to kind of get together and rap. But they right on the website, they had a thing like, if you're a member of the press or media, you know, they apply for a press pass, right? Or a media pass.
Right.
And I said, shit, I'll give it a shot. Right. So I just put down, you know, Greg Robertson, Vendor Alley, and answered a few questions, and boom, their president reached out and says, yeah, I'd love to have you here.
Yeah.
And so I got a free pass. Along with that, I had some Bonvoy points. I stayed at the Cosmopolitan, which was kind of a pain in the ass, but you know, it worked out. But
Cosmo's probably way better than staying at the Venetian, because, as you remember, there was that major renewable energy conference happening at the same time.
Well, right? I'll up you on that. I mean, but MGM had gotten hacked, so they had
that's right.
You know, similar to what happened in real estate here. They had a ransomware attack, and
that's right.
That initially affected MGM is a corporation that owns many hotels.
Right.
It initially, I think, really hit the MGM hotel, but Cosmopolitan is one under the MGM umbrella.
Oh, okay.
When I checked in, though, I didn't have any problems checking in, but I was talking to the person behind the front counter, and she was saying that nobody in there could get into their email server of, you know, their work email server. So that was kind of a weird thing.
Oof.
And then by the time we left, it had kind of spread to other. I haven't really seen a lot of it in the media, but I mean, on Twitter, and, you know, I follow obviously a lot of the Vegas stuff because I'm there so much.
Yeah.
But it was all over the place on Twitter and Instagram about the hacking.
Yeah, no, my the co-founder, my CTO at D-Center was just quoted all over New York Times and, you know, Las Vegas Review Journal, because he's a cybersecurity expert, right? So he's talked about all of that. Yeah, we had a good time with that. It's like, hey, you're in the press. But all right, in any event, so what'd you think of Blueprint?
So yeah, beyond just like people saying it was a good conference, I didn't know exactly what to expect, except that it was, I got the feeling it was prop tech, but, you know, more broadly, meaning, you know, we're in residential, right? So, right. And in the prop tech world, they kind of shorten that to resi. Oh, you're resi, right? Which I'm getting the kind of lingo going down.
Yeah.
But they included things like, you know, a lot of commercial companies. So software that helps you manage the power systems on each floor based upon usage, and then you can, you know, save money that way. Or, you know, one of the things that my favorite, washer. Yeah, the robotic window washer, right? So you don't have to hire humans to, you know, dangle from ropes outside and do the windows. You know, a lot of construction thing, like how to kind of keep costs going during the initial build, and digital twins of buildings that, can be created. A ton of that kind of like what you would kind of never think of as part of like when I think of prop tech, because I have in my head, a narrow focus. Not to say that we didn't see a lot of our old friends, Pete Flint was there.
Yep.
Spencer Raskoff was there. We had a few good meetings with them. A lot, some people from Resi, Sam DeBoard was there from Rezo.
Yep.
Greg Sachs. I'm forgetting a lot of people there, but who I was glad to see? I saw Celeste there, Celeste Starchild.
Yep.
I haven't seen her in a long time, but in that whole like prop tech world, the whole, in home inspection,
mortgage.
Mortgage, that kind of thing. That was all there. So that was great to see some of the old friends there. Some people I missed. I when I came back, I looked on Twitter and like, God, I didn't know that guy was there. I should have said hello to him. It was, but as you said in the beginning, there was another solar conference that was like 4 floors below us.
Yeah.
And that had about 60,000 people.
Yeah.
So it was just, the first impression is just a sea of humanity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just amazing, just crazy amount of people there. Right. So, even when you got to the Blueprints conference, it was just, oh my God, it was so crowded. You feel the same way?
Yeah, and like I said, that's why it's good that you stayed at the Cosmo, because I was hearing from people that the Uber line to leave the Venetian was like 45 minutes to an hour because of so many people were just ordering cars and taxis just to get to,
I went off. I still had to get back, so I would order an Uber, but I was doing it off the time, right? It was still taking 20, 30 minutes for sure.
Yeah. So because I hosted a couple of dinners and people were like, it's impossible to get out of the Venetian. Some people walked. It was like a 3-mile walk and they got there faster. So, but it was, it's my 3rd time, I think, doing Blueprint, and they're getting better, with each year. But I got to tell you, man, I felt a little, and I don't know what it is. So maybe I'll just talk it over with you. I felt a little like sadness. Like there was a little bit of, like in the past 2 Blueprints I've been to, I was just like, this is the greatest conference I've ever been to. It's amazing. The innovation, like the people you talk to and the things that people are working on, it was phenomenal. This year I felt a little empty, right? And I was been trying for 3 days to figure out why, right? Because there was plenty of innovation. There were cool things and great people, some really intelligent conversation, but I felt a little empty, So I'm trying to figure out why. And because it was your first time you saw. So I'm going to see if I could put some words around it and see what you think. Okay. I think the issue is, for me, I was almost starting to feel like the limitations of technology, right? And yes, I've been a consultant for 12 years, but really, I feel like I kind of come out of the tech background. I've always been a believer in technology, right? That technology solves, huge problems. It really advances things, pushes things forward. Like if there are problems, then technology is going to be the solution, right? Whatever the problem is, so greenhouse gases or whatever. Okay, you know what? I don't think it's about government regulation and whatever. It's about, technology will solve this problem, right? If this is a real problem, we'll figure it out, right? Whatever. That's just how I felt. Like if there's hunger, like technology will figure that out. If there's this time around, man, like I just felt like, are we hitting the limits of what technology is able to do? So here's what I'll tell you like what made me think of this. Maybe it's because you and I are in Resi, right? But to me, the number one issue going on right now in our industry, the country, if you will, is cost of housing, right? That the average working family can no longer afford to buy the average house, right? And rents are going higher and higher. And more people are saying, you know what? I don't know if I could afford rent, right? To me, like that's the problem. Like that is the challenge. And it has to do, and I get it. It has to do with the Fed policy. It has to do with, all like macroeconomic factors, right? And I didn't I don't know about you, but I didn't really get the sense like the technologists at Blueprint were focused on that. I heard a lot of stuff around AI, right? Tons and tons of AI. And I'm like, yeah, but it's AI. I'm not seeing how this connects to the central problem of our age, right? Like, how does this AI connect to affordability? I wasn't hearing that. I was hearing we're going to do AI and it's going to make your mortgage loan officers much more productive. It will help your whatever be much more productive, right? Or we're going to be able to discover like new revenue opportunities by using AI and satellite photography or something. I'm like, okay, like this is all cool, but it doesn't address the central problem. Do you know what I mean? And I was expecting there to be some sort of, hey, everybody, we know housing affordability is a real issue, and here's technology that's going to help solve that. Whether that's, like a year ago, 2 years ago, maybe, there was somebody talking about 3D printing, right? 3D printing of houses as a solution to affordability. I wasn't here. I didn't see any of that this year around, right? And maybe that's why I'm feeling a little like, have we had certain problems where technology is actually not the answer? It actually cannot solve for things like housing affordability.
Yeah, I mean, can technology solve the printing of money? The inflation,
exactly.
I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you're conflating two things of. Is it supposed to? I guess is the question I would ask you. I mean, there's certain macro things that happen. I mean, yes. Oh my God, we had an earthquake, right? I mean, why couldn't technology solve the earthquake? Right. Or oh my God, there's some things I think I'm not sure if it's really helpful or rightfully to kind of say we should have been able to solve this with tech. Right. Oh my God, this guy's a bad father.
Yeah, no, let me refine that. What I mean is I'm not saying technology should have anticipated problems to solve that. What I'm saying is going forward. So like the earthquake problem, right? Okay, there was an earthquake. The city of San Francisco is leveled, right? Okay, technology couldn't solve that. But what we can do then is, okay, hey, look, earthquake's a problem. We're going to create new building materials, new construction techniques, new technology to make buildings more earthquake resistant going forward, right? Like addressing the problem, right? And you're right. You're absolutely right. Technology can't solve money printing, right? I don't know how, but I guess what I was hoping for was like, okay, we have some of the smartest people in prop tech across commercial, residential, construction, finance. I mean, Blueprint basically is a conference of startups and VCs, is one way to think about it, right? You're not going to, I didn't see Weyerhaeuser there, right? They're building materials. Like I didn't see Caterpillar there, it's not that. It's startups and VCs. But these are some of the most, sort of forward-thinking, risk-taking entrepreneurs, right? And financiers who want to support that.
Yeah.
I wasn't hearing people talking about, affordability. Here's how we're going to try and solve it.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. Kind of maybe a story here to kind of highlight that, because you're kind of poking my memory. So I saw, we talked about this a little bit. Adina Heffitz, I think is her last name. She's the CEO of Divvy Homes, right?
Yep.
Divvy has a great model where basically you pick a house, they'll buy it, you rent it for them, but you're basically building equity. So at one point you can take over it, right? That's right. Absolutely going what you're talking about, right? Solving these kind of affordability problems, solving these kind of things. That's what she's doing, right? So she talked about, and I'm sure every startup founder has read, the hard things about hard things from Ben Horowitz. And, he talks about the kind of 3 stages of building a company. The first one is kind of like, this product market fit, right? And Adina was talking about that, and she was kind of giving advice to the audience. She was on the main stage there. Like, well, so now do people want this? You go out there and you work, 12 to 18 months and you figure out people want this. Absolutely. Right. And that's focus, dedication, make sure.
Yeah.
Then if you're successful in that, you maybe get your Series B round, right? Then it's like, okay, how do I work on the unit metrics? how do I make this a business? How do I make it a viable business? Right. And that's another 12 to 18 to, 24 months of figuring that hard part out. And then the third thing is, okay, once you do that and you get your Series D and you're ready to go, it's like, okay, how do I scale this?
Yeah.
And she's like, and again, that's an incredibly difficult focus thing that you can do and everything else. She's like, well, I didn't have anything on my agenda to worry about the inflation rate, right? Because, these people are very, they're trying to execute on doing what they're doing. And she is absolutely, that company is absolutely trying to solve the problem. But
that's right.
These things that come up, I mean,
that's right.
It's just it's not in the wheelhouse, or like, I'm sure that they kind of thought of those things when they're doing their debt restructuring or things like that. But I mean, as far as it being like a central thing to what they're doing to trying to build their company, I don't think any company really kind of thinks about that. Right. I mean, you might have somebody like, and we had a conversation with somebody from Zillow where, why did they get out of the Zillow Homes thing? And, sometimes it just got down to is like, I didn't like the risk. Maybe he was paying attention like nobody was, and goes, well, and I think he said this, I just like I like the higher margins of a media business rather than the low margins of a brokerage. Right. So, I don't know if that answers your question, but I think these are smart founders. Even the founders are working on solving hard problems like what you're talking about. Still, I mean, it's just the nature of building a startup. Some of these things just kind of come as a surprise, or just, and again, what we're dealing with now is, and I think they said this on stage, is the speed of how quickly interest rate rose.
Sure.
Is unprecedented. It's like, it's the most it's ever been in like 70 years or so, 60 or 70 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, how do you kind of solve for this? And I'll say the two words, how do you solve for these kind of black swan events? Right.
It wasn't really black swan, but that's a whole other thing. No, you're right. Look, macroeconomics. So it just reminds me like, okay, real estate at the end of the day, it's a macroeconomics game. Right. And maybe that was kind of I'm trying to struggle. Like I said, I don't have any answers. Like I'm just feeling, I'm talking it through with you, where I didn't walk away from this conference like feeling like filled with hope and like, wow, all this technology that's coming down the pike is going to completely revolutionize things, completely change the world, and life's going to be so much better. I didn't walk away feeling that. I walked away feeling like, have we hit a limit? What you're right. Like, what are you going to like? Look, you could be the greatest smart startup founder. Divvy Homes is amazing, whatever, product market fit, and like that's all true. You're not Jerome Powell. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
You're not fucking
Why don't we build we'll get Elon Musk to make a clone of Jerome Powell to walk up to stage and like say exactly what we need them to say.
Yeah,
right?
So it's like, okay, but that was maybe that's what it is. It was a little bit deflating to think, you know what, there are problems that technology just can't solve, right? And it's a bit of a sobering, but a bit of a depressing thought, right? That the only solution then is political. The only solution is something else, right?
Yeah.
Like we need to replace central banks. Do you know what I mean? Like something like that. Like, hey, Bitcoin. Like it's really kind of deflating in a way. Is all I'm getting at, right?
Yeah. You're coming from. You're coming from having gone to two of those things and seeing that optimism and a lot of these new vendors out there. My experience being the first one in like, and mostly going to like, I've been to the Inman conferences, of course, and the RS Media conferences and the T3 conferences and all in between of those types of things, which are traditionally very resi things. This is a true prop tech technology conference. Yeah. And myself, having bootstrap all the companies that I've founded, have never had to I've always just marveled at the whole VC world and the world of fundraising. And that's the first thing that struck me was like, okay, it was basically a sausage fest there, right? So the leadership was just all these young men in their late 20s, early 30s, and they had a definite look to them, and they've all got these ideas, but one of the things that's clearly on their mind is, how do I get funding, right? And in this environment, it can be very tough. But they had that pit, and you and I went in there. You were gracious enough for me to kind of sit in on a talk you were having with the VC there.
Yeah.
And it was a pit, and it was like these round cocktail tables with a number on it. Yeah. And each one of those tables had a VC on it.
Yeah.
And then it was just roaring in there like the hottest club in Vegas.
Yeah.
And it was just founder after founder pitching these VCs about their idea and trying to get on their next get a meeting with them, offsite, as far as for getting things. And I'm just thinking to myself, oh my God, it's like, you first of all, it's like, how do you get this person's attention? Your pitch has got to be really tight to, to down to whatever. And these guys are just, it's deflating of like, well, what if Zillow did that? You'd be out of business. They're pre-programmed. And a lot of times I think they're not even doing it because they believe it. They want to just see your reaction.
Sure.
And see you overcome objections.
Sure, of course.
To kind of validate whether you've kind of really thought this out or not. Sure. And I will be candid and like, I was just super impressed with a lot of these guys who are, they're hardcore true believers in what they're doing. And I guess they need to be. Yeah. But I don't know how you be, I don't know which is worse, being a founder or one of those VCs. Cause it's like,
it's worse being a founder.
They're both tough jobs, right?
Yeah. It's worse being a founder.
Yeah. Yeah. He who has the gold is king, right?
Well, look, I've done it enough to where, and look, it's been, I don't know, 20 years, right, since I've been in the dating world, but I think there's a lot of parallels, like being a VC at a place like that is kind of like being the hottest girl in the club, so you just sit and then all these guys come up and they have to try and just, hey baby, let me get your phone number. And then you get to, why should I give you my phone number? Like, who are you? And, so they get to reject. Right. And then what's funny is, of course, you do have that once in a while, like where the tables are flipped, so you have like that startup, you have that company come in and everyone's like, holy shit, this is a unicorn. I want to get in on this deal. And then it's reversed. And now, it's the founder who gets to be, and I guess the example might be something like, what's his name? Adam Neumann.
Yeah.
Right. We work out. He got, $300 million from, to do this like proptech thing, so he would be like the super hot, Tom Brady walking into a club, right? And all of a sudden now all the hot women want to talk to. So, but that's the vibe. So as a general rule though, unless you're, Adam Neumann, then you want to be the VC. It's much easier.
Yeah. The second thing I kind of noticed was just, it made it completely different from the stuff I go. There was just no brokers and agents.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, and I guess it's not really made for that, right? Because I think in the other conferences that we go to, I mean, it's a chance almost for brokers and agents to meet the people creating the technology.
Right.
And, a lot of times, because the way that real estate is structured, a lot of those volunteers are decision makers also getting deals done, right? So it's a little bit further down the funnel, so to speak, right?
Right.
So I guess that's what I look at. It's like Blueprint is really up on the top of the funnel. And then as you go down and getting to kind of execute and like sell into brokerages, sell into, I'm sure like the MBA conference or, the mortgage stuff is a bit like you're getting closer to, okay, I've got to execute now where you're not, it's just not just a high level funding thing.
That's right.
I probably enjoy the content more at a Inman than I did here because I found the content a little bit, well, there's only smatterings of resi things. Spencer Raskoff did a great panel with Pete Flint.
Right.
Ryan O'Hare, who used to run Realtor.com. And who else was on there? One of the venture capital guys talking about the kind of old portal wars and what would they do differently, or how are things looking for the future of that. I thought that was interesting. We saw Errol there.
Yep.
We went to his session and cheered him on and about some things he was talking fun. About. Yeah. But I don't know, because I just don't know half the things they're talking about at these other things. Using transducers to maximize airflow in buildings. Whatever the fuck.
Yeah. No, it was cool, and then there's a lot of stuff around, like obviously environmental stuff was a big thing. Yeah, which was cool because the 4 floors, other than the top one we were at, those guys were all about alternative energy and renewables and solar and wind and whatever. And, it's like, all useless fucking technologies because none of them want to embrace nuclear. But that's a whole other topic.
Oh, good Lord. I thought you had solar.
I do have solar. And I have
useless?
EV. It's useless for large scale.
But it's not useless to you.
No, what I mean, it's let's put it this way, it's real marginal. It's real marginal. I live in Nevada.
I thought you're like paying $0 for electricity.
That's true. $10 a month.
That's not marginal to me. Hell, I don't even want to tell you what my electricity bill was fucking last month in Southern California.
Okay, you want to get into this? I'm just saying, look, I'm fine with solar. I love wind. I love all of those things. I'm just saying your base load has to be nuclear. That's all, right? If you don't want to burn coal and natural gas, your base load has to be nuclear. But no, useless in the sense of like it's not going to solve the energy problem. Right. It's just additive. It's just like a nice to have. Because let's put it to say, if my solar went out, I would still have electricity. Okay. If my grid went out, I would have electricity 8 hours a day.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's the difference. So I'm saying, but anyway, so there's a lot of that. Like I said, for me, it's always a great conference, always great to see people. Like I said, for me, I just felt like a sense of hollowness, like, man, we still can't solve like the big problems, right?
Yeah, like, I think you're at the wrong conference there.
No, you're exactly right. And so that's my fault.
Go to the monetary conference for go to like Davos or some shit, right? I don't know what the hell.
It's my fault. I'm not suggesting there's any problem with Blueprint or any downtrade. It's just my fault because I'm like, maybe I wanted to hear more. Maybe some proptech entrepreneur saying, hey, you know what? We found a way of I don't know, solving labor. In fact, I'll give you a perfect example, right, of what this like thing was for me, right? I went to a startup like pitch session, and there was a guy there pitching a company. What the hell is it called? Toolbelt or something like that. Great, clever idea, right? So he actually came out of like construction and renovation industry, right? And what he was talking about was, one of the big limiting factors for his company as they were coming up was accessibility to skilled labor, right? Like you want to do renovation, you want to build a house, the whole thing is, okay, well, I need a plumber, I need an electrician, I need a roofer, right? And he couldn't find them. Like he had a lot of trouble, like finding the right people. He said, look, you can buy building materials, right? They're available. That's not that hard to get. The difficult thing he felt was, how do I get the skilled labor to actually do the work? So he created a company. It's like a national, like Upwork kind of thing, a place where, builders and, companies could go and say, hey, I'm looking for electricians, I'm looking for roofers. And then there'll be a way for electricians, roofers, all these people to come together and say, hey, I'm available, here are my qualifications, etc. Right? And I'm like, okay, that's a really clever thing, and it solves a particular problem, right? You know what though? Like as I'm hearing him and I'm like, okay, I like him. I like the company idea. It sounds really great. As I'm listening to him, what I couldn't shake out of my head, right, was like Mike Rowe and all these macro people talking about, we just don't have enough skilled labor. Young men are not going into the trades, right? Like young people are not working they're not becoming plumbers. They're not becoming, roofers. They're not becoming carpenters, right? They're all wanting to become TikTok stars.
Yeah.
I couldn't shake that, right? So it's like, is it his fault? Of course not. That guy solved the problem. And he's like, okay, well, I need So I'm going to create this platform where, essentially buyers and sellers of skilled labor can meet and sort of streamline that. And, like we could do license verification. It solves a bunch of problems. It's not his fault. But when he's talking about it, I'm like, yeah, but we just don't have enough people entering the trades, right? That the average plumber is 55 years old now. Like, you can't solve, and again, he can't solve that problem. That's a societal problem. I get it, right? But man, is it deflating when you go, here's the limit of technology, right? You could put together this platform, right, and make that process as efficient as possible. But you know what, man? When you're short 3 million, plasterers, then you're short 3 million. Like, technology can't create skilled laborers. Like that, I think that's kind of what I'm conveying.
Right? I mean, if anybody wants to be a plumber, or wants motivation to be a plumber, my neighbor Sam, Crandall's Plumbing. Look at his house.
Exactly.
Look at all the toys he's got. Sam has got it going fucking on, man. So he's I see his trucks everywhere. His guys are always. He runs a great business and he's doing freaking pretty well, man. So I mean,
look, man. When I was having my solar installed, the guy who was like the head, sort of tech engineer. He doesn't own the company. 26 years old, making $180,000 a year.
Yeah, fucking
installing solar panels. Now he's working his ass off. He's up at 7 a.m. He's on rooftops in the Vegas heat. But yeah. So no, there's plenty of, but we just need to that's kind of what I'm getting at, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's I'm a firm believer in technology, but I mean, it's not a solver of everything for sure, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah,
absolutely. So
I wish it was.
Like I said, so I think my thing's okay. You know what? I still believe in technology. Obviously, I'm still in a tech company. I'm a prop tech startup myself, but there are certain problems that this can't solve, right? So then you have to then turn our attention to, okay, then what problems do we need solved and how do we solve them, right? I think that's for a different conversation, you know what I mean? But I think it's something that needs to happen. And it would have been nice, I think. So maybe this is just more, not that the guys who run Blueprint are listening to us talk, but, the big plenary sessions, the big on-stage main sessions, it might be useful in future to at least have one or two people coming and addressing those non-technological policy or macroeconomic issues, right? There's like, hey, you people in the prop tech space, you're doing your thing, and there's that. But let's talk about monetary policy. Here's the impact. Here's what it's going to do to whatever, real estate, to property. Like, no one's going to talk about the fact that we might have a tsunami happening in commercial real estate, right? Which could wipe out like entire asset categories. Like, and then maybe it's like, hey, here's the challenge then for prop tech. We need you guys as bright, smart entrepreneurs to think about, are there technological solutions to something like office conversion to residential, as an example? Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, something. Like, would it be nice to have some sort of,
and there were I remember seeing a couple panels on people that were like, how do I convert these things into something else that were those things? So I know Myron's given us a wrap signal. So the question I get asked is, maybe this is a good way to wrap.
Yeah.
Is, Greg, you went there, you go to a lot of these conferences. Would you go? I mean, I run an association. I run a MLS. I work for a franchisor. I run a franchise, and I would say absolutely. I would go there to see kind of this other side, this how the sausage is made, how these bigger companies get funded in that world, just to be educated about it. After that, you can decide for yourself whether this is something for you going forward. But I would definitely encourage people to go at least once to see if this is going to float their boat. Right now, for me, it was a great experience. Now, if I ever decide to start another company and do fundraising, I think this would have to be a must in the prop tech space. I would say this would have to be a must go conference. Right now, if I'm just doing what I'm doing, probably I'm not sure yet. But it doesn't feel like to me my wheelhouse totally of what I'm doing, but I'm glad I went there, and I would definitely encourage others to kind of go check it out as well.
I don't know, man. I'm going to take the exact opposite stance, right? Where
shocking.
No, what I mean by that is I think if you're doing what you're doing and you want to be more of a media, if like Vendor Alley, like next Blueprint, Vendor Alley should have a booth and you should be interviewing every single prop tech founder. Right?
Yeah, but did you see a lot of Resi booths there?
So that's what I'm saying. I think it's beyond Resi.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to go beyond Resi.
No, a lot of those guys have implication to Resi. So like I said, one of the companies that was talking about rooftop.ai, I think it's what the company was, right? Where they would send up drones and they would take photos of rooftops and then be able to tell you what kind of maintenance you need, what the budget for replacement.
Lead gen, yeah.
That is direct relevance to residential.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I get it.
They're not in Resi space, right? I think there are a bunch of startups like that.
I just published this. I'm kind of kicking back off listing bits, and I just did an interview with the founder there. His name is Jeremy, and it's the site is the Quick Fix without the C in quick. And basically, what you do is you take your home inspection report and send it over to those guys. Yeah, and they give you a quote, and then a contractor can come in. A quote for a contractor to do those things.
That's right.
And I thought that's a great.
That's right. That's right.
Just a great solution for sure.
There were so many companies talking about we are some sort of platform for home
or
maintenance
marketplace,
or home improvement and stuff like that. So many of those companies, right?
Yeah.
I don't know who's going to win, but there's relevance for Resi. So I guess all I'm saying is I think next year, Vendor Alley should literally have a booth. You should have microphones, be like 15-minute podcasts with founders, right? I mean, if you're a startup, maybe you do have to go, but as a startup founder that went, I'm like, dude, talking to VCs, like I said, it's one of those things you got to put in dating context, right? Like, are you a super hot guy? Right? Are you a 10? If you are, then you don't really need to go. If you're not a 10, then maybe you got to go, but just understand you're going to be running the gauntlet and you're just going to be,
I think in that pit, when you do your 12th pitch, you're going to absolutely nail it for any time after that, right? Because just that repetitiveness is going to make you great.
Exactly. But like I said, it's just like in the dating context, is that a better use of your time, or should you just go hit the gym? Right?
Yeah.
Right. So, like as a startup founder, do you spend all your time going to talk to VCs, or do you actually just improve your product?
Yeah, I guess I'm always fond of saying, the best marketing is to have a great product, right? So that falls in that wheelhouse.
That's right. So, all right, man. Like I said, great seeing you all this week. I hope to see you in person soon as well.
And just so everybody knows, Rob is like batting 1,000% for all of his restaurant recommendations.
That's right.
Although I haven't eaten anything but Korean and Chinese or Japanese food, but they were all great.
Hold on, I took you to Mexican. Remember?
Oh, we did Mexican. That's right. Actually, we did. The pizza place was pretty good, even for a chain, right? So
that's right.
I take it all back. No matter what, Rob's got you covered.
If you are coming to my city and you want to know where to eat off strip, look me up. I will hook you up.
Thanks, Rob.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Ciao.
Listen, content is everything. Two Brothers Creative makes it look easy. Right now, business owners really only have two options. The first option is hire a big firm. Now, this big firm's going to come in, make you think that they invented all the algorithms, and start charging you thousands of dollars every month. You don't want to do that. Second option is to do it yourself. Well, that means you got to learn SEO, SEM, copywriting, marketing techniques on the web. You should be really focusing on your own product. But now there's a third option. It's called Content in a Box. Give Two Brothers Creative 30 minutes a week and they'll handle everything. Plus, they'll show you how to bring it in-house later on. They'll rebuild your marketing foundation and give you tools and techniques and a new marketing playbook that'll actually produce real results and help you grow your business. Two Brothers Creative will give you the confidence and know-how to tell the SEOs and SEMs and all those other acronyms to get fucked. You're in control now. Get started today at thecontentbox.com.